Hi everyone, my name is Veronica Murawski. Thank you for coming today to watch our presentations. I didn't know how formal this was going to be, so I kind of formulated a little script, so bear with me. Maybe following this thing. So this summer I was lucky enough to get the chance to work with Simon Edmondson, a British figurative painter based in Madrid, Spain. Edmondson was born in London. He received a master's at the Chelsea School of Art and continued his education at Syracuse University in New York. Simon has been living in Madrid since 1991. He currently shows throughout Europe, in Switzerland with the Dietzheim and Maffei Fine Arts Gallery, and in Madrid with the Galleria Alvaro Alcazar. As a figurative painter, Simon Edmondson has produced major paintings of interiors, such as abandoned ruins of churches, libraries, and hospitals, with figures much in the same orientation of a painting by Diego Velázquez, where he drew much inspiration from the famous painting Las Meninas. Simon arranges his figures in the composition in a way that speaks to it of a narrative. Incorporating the figures is what initially drew me to Simon's work. His manner of using the figure and the ruins as a means of conveying the fragilities of human existence. So I have like slides of like his studio mainly, so I'm just gonna go through this as I'm reading. So my time with Simon was hands down one of the most valuable and mind-opening experiences I've ever had in my life. Not to sound cliche, but the amount of information I gained in order to establish a professional artistic career is far beyond my years. The Shantz Internship could not have happened at a better time in my career as an emerging painter. What made it valuable was the one-on-one time we spent together. The conversations we had about painting have made me realize something about being a painter. You develop a tough skin. That not only is it extremely difficult through the amount of rejection received, bad reviews, and also just being a figurative painter in the contemporary art world. It comes down to just doing what you want to do, regardless of trending forms of art, and maybe sacrificing popularity for doing something that you enjoy on a day-to-day basis. It all comes down to whether you are truly interested in your own work. What Simon told me was that when it comes to a point where you have to find a part of yourself to insert into your work, or else it's empty, it's not interesting, it lacks character or relatability. Something that interests you will undoubtedly interest other people. Well, maybe not everyone, but at least you. And that piece of you remains in the work is what makes it interesting. And these are his dogs. They kind of came around with Simon everywhere that he went. The brown one on the left is Mortimer, and the right one is Wilf. Yeah, they were studio buddies. I would kind of rile them up sometimes too, so it's great to have pets in the studio. So Simon was very excited over the idea of having an intern since he never had one before, and so he took great care into making sure my experience was extremely positive and rewarding. He showed me much generosity and care than I expected much more generosity and care than I expected from an artist-intern relationship. There's another studio shot. This is his wood shop that he would make his stretchers and everything in. So my daily routine consisted of meeting Simon every day in the parking lot of his street in the neighborhood of Almagro, and we would drive together to his studio. I stayed in the same neighborhood, located on the edge of the city center. His studio, which was located on the outskirts of Madrid, was impressive in size. It was a repurposed car repair garage that included a front room, photo studio, which he lent me use as my own personal workspace, his office, which included canvas storage and archives, the main studio where Simon worked on his large-scale works, and a wood shop where he built his own frames and stretchers. So, let's see. So some of my studio duties included assembling and painting frames, cutting and stretching canvas, assembling stretchers, assisted in restretching canvas, priming and sizing surfaces, restored a painting by delicately cleaning its surface, mounted drawings on frames, ran errands together, even assisted in saving his paintings from a massive studio flood during a storm in a place that never rains. He showed me like working methods of how he assembled collages to create new compositions. I had the opportunity to observe photo shoots with models. I took part in assembling their wardrobes and sat in on a painting session with Simon and observed him working. I also had the opportunity to make some of my own drawings and on a few occasions paint alongside him. I have a lot of slides. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this thing. We went to visit Simon's gallery, Alvaro Alcazar, where he introduced me to his collector and representatives, and he showed me the business side of being an artist, selling, transporting, and managing his paintings. Pictures. So let's see if I can find that one photo. So we began working on a collaboration piece called Myth, and that's when I was responsible for designing and assembling artificial flowers onto one of his paintings, and this is something I solely worked on. Not this thing in particular, I'm trying to find it, but it's something that I solely worked on during for 2 weeks during my internship. So during my weekends, I would spend my time visiting various museums, and such as the famous Museo del Prado, where I would spend hours studying the works of Diego Velázquez and Francisco de Goya. I visited the Reina Sofia, where I seen Picasso's Guernica and famous works by Salvador Dali, and the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum, where I experienced the skin-crawling works of Lucian Freud. I also went to the Royal Palace, the Botanical Gardens, the National Library of Spain. But on my days off, I would spend most of my time in Retiro Park, reading and sketching, and studying human interactions, which is a topic I'm currently exploring in my own work. So this is just he built this with cardboard as a prop for his paintings, and he actually made it himself, to scale size of a door. From a historical painting. I forget the title of it, but he's been using these little backdrops. Behind that curtain is actually one of his larger works, but he wouldn't dare let me photograph it, even though I asked. Please. So he was kind of very shy, and I found that really interesting that we had a lot in common in that sense, is that he was pretty shy about a lot of his work and working methods. So I've got tons of pictures. There's more of the doggies. So these are some of the frames that I assembled myself and painted for Simon so that he could mount drawings onto. This is the painting that I cleaned for him, which turned out to be pretty cool. So this is the collaboration piece. I finally found it. So I began by sort of mapping out a design onto the painting itself. There is a plastic screen that you can't see, like a transparent plastic screen that you can see or can't see on the painting itself that I stuck Post-it notes to sort of work with a design. So this is my workspace that I had all to myself. So then you can tell that I began constructing the artificial flowers onto a chicken wire frame. So these are the artificial flowers. And that's kind of what it looks like at this point in time. So Simon understood how difficult it was for someone to adjust to a new language and culture, and he wanted me to experience more of Madrid's artistic scene. So he introduced me to Pablo Garcia, a talented young painter in Madrid who works as a studio assistant for another painter, Jorge Diezma. Pablo and I became very close friends, and he showed me around the city. He brought me to all the hip locations, such as the creative countercultural district of Malasaña, where locals hung out, to experience the cultural side of Madrid outside of the tourist-centric locations. We went out for tapas and cervezas on numerous occasions, hung out in Retiro Park. We went to openings together, visited an open studio event where I met many young artists working in Madrid. We went to see a contemporary flamenco show, which was basically an infusion of flamenco, ballet, and Broadway, and we also went to watch the National Youth Orchestra at the Auditorio Nacional de Música de Madrid, where they played a rendition of Tchaikovsky, which is really nice. I just have so many slides, that's why it's taking me so long to get to the points that I'm talking about. But so this is just kind of like an idea of how he would set up like his backdrops, and when he had the model sessions, they would sort of pose. So I got an action shot of him working. So he dressed the woman in like an old-time nurse's uniform, and he was using that as her as a model, which was nice. So this is Retiro Park. I would spend a lot of time here. This is the Royal Palace, one of the government buildings. I think this is City Hall. This is me and Pablo. I'm going to the flamenco show. That's us at an opening. And so this is like kind of towards the end when we were actually attaching the piece onto the painting. So we were kind of just nailing the sides of it and assembling it. So that's how it turned out in the end. And he even let me sign it too, before his name, which is really cool. Yeah. And then we put a plexiglass covering over it, which was it was kind of like a larger frame, so then that way the three-dimensional flowers could fit in there without resting against the plexiglass itself. So it turned out pretty cool. So this is just the tag on the back, which he included my name and his name, which was pretty cool. And there he is. And there I am. So the Shantz Internship was a way of realizing the true potential of establishing an artistic career. Since my time in Madrid, a major thing I had noticed was my confidence in the studio has changed for the better in both subject matter and technique. It opened my mind to the inner workings of an artistic career and the possibilities of relocation. What the internship gave me that school could not was the ability to gain first-hand experience that involves a more experiential form of learning, through observation rather than instruction, through trial and error, through deep and casual conversation, made it seem like a much more attainable reality. The Shantz Internship also gave me the ability to travel to London and visit the National Gallery and the Tate Modern. Without the internship, connections I've made in Madrid otherwise would never exist. I feel extremely grateful for this opportunity, and I wish more artists were able to experience it. So that's all. Go ahead.
Could you speak to how the collaboration with him came about, or
how it what happened with it?
or like how did it? Was it something he's
Oh,
always wanted to do, or did you initiate this, or how did that all?
I did not. I was actually really surprised that he wanted to make a collaboration with me. But we both went to go visit his gallery, Alvaro Alcazar, and he was sort of getting ideas, like he wanted an idea of what else he could do to this painting because he felt like it felt very plain without something added to it. So I suggested, why not fake flowers? And he was like, yeah, let's try it. So we ended up going and finding this particular color of flower. Like I was the one that was responsible for all of it. Like he basically left it all up to me, which was really stressful because I could have messed up one of his paintings royally. So, but it turned out, and but it was his idea. He really wanted me to like get something out of it aside from just like being there to help him like move around canvases and build stretcher frames. He actually wanted me to like make something with him, just as like a piece of memory or something, which was nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you'll collaborate again? Like, how did you like that experience? Speak to the experience of like.
Yeah, I definitely would. Actually, it's funny because like I'm a painter, so I've never worked with like an actual material, and thinking of all like the logistics of assembling it, making a wire cage for it to be tied into, and also hanging it onto the painting without damaging it was all new to me. So, but I enjoyed the experience very, very much. I don't know if I would ever do it again, I guess if somebody asked, but yeah. Well, what we did is we mounted it's actually not a canvas, it's a giant piece of paper. So what we did is we built a frame, like a custom frame in his wood shop so that the paper can fit on, and what we did is we attached the chicken wire brackets on the sides of the wood, so that way it would just be kind of like hovering over top of the paper but not actually touching it. And I made sure because it was actually like a real meticulous project because I worked on it for 2 weeks straight, and I had to physically tie each tiny little stem, plastic stem, to the chicken wire, and then like double tie it with a zip tie. So then that way it would stay put, and even then it would kind of shift a little bit. So I don't know if I answered your question.
It looks to me like he paints on linen. Does he paint on canvas or linen?
It was linen, mostly linen, yeah.
So that's sized before you stretch it on canvas?
He was sizing it afterwards. Yeah, some of the ones that he said that he would, what I observed is that he would size afterwards. So, but he used like a lead-based gesso. So
yeah.
that way,
Yeah, he's not using a water-based
no,
yeah.
no. Yeah, it was pretty intense. I had to gesso some of them with lead, so he was like kind of worried that I wouldn't be able to procreate later in life. But I said it's okay. Not interested anyway. So yeah. Yeah.
Had he ever done, like, was this the first time he had done collage in this kind of way? Like, it's so strange to have the painting and then this object, something like.
Not really, no. This was more so just like an experiment.
Right.
Just to see if like maybe it would work out. He was planning, I mean, like I don't know this for sure, but he was planning on sending this piece to a show in Chicago if his gallerist would approve of it. So he was kind of trying to do something different, I guess, and wanted me to participate in that. So. Yeah.
What are all the big pails or pots that seem to have residue in them?
Oh.
Is that encaustic or?
No. That's just the pails that he used to put in his solvents and his mixtures for his painting. So he would paint in like huge washes of paint for the most part, and he would just keep layering these washes of oil. So it was just more so just to contain more of it because he went through it so quickly.